All right, today we're stepping back in time, way back. We're going into the gaslit, fog-choked streets of 1888 London to try and deconstruct one of history's most chilling and, honestly, most frustrating unsolved cases, the terror of Jack the Ripper.
From hell. I mean, it doesn't get much more terrifying than that, does it? This is the start of the infamous From Hell letter. Now, you have to understand, police were getting hundreds of letters from people claiming to be the killer. But this one was different. It came with a small box, and inside was half of a human kidney. Its authenticity is still fiercely debated, but it gives you this absolutely chilling window into the mind of someone who wasn't just a murderer. They were crafting a legend of pure terror.
So over just a few short months, this phantom predator stalked the poorest parts of London, leaving behind a trail of victims so horrifically mutilated it's hard to even comprehend. The killer was never caught. Not a single person was ever brought to justice. But the story he created, well, that's been haunting us for over a century. So to even begin to understand the monster, we first have to understand his world.
Let's start right there, with the killer's hunting ground. Because the environment of Whitechapel wasn't just a backdrop for these crimes. You could almost say it was an active accomplice.
Yeah, this was not the London you see on postcards. The East End was a tangled mess of narrow, unlit alleys, overflowing slum housing, and just utter social desperation. It was a place where thousands of people were living right on the edge, and where a person could easily disappear, either because they wanted to or because someone made them. So what's with the number 700? Well, get this. That's how many beds could be crammed into a single doss house or common lodging house. For a woman working the streets, a bed for the night cost just 4 pence. If she couldn't earn it, she was out on those very same streets where the killer was waiting. It's a terrifyingly simple equation.
And when you look at this, you can see how all these factors created a perfect storm. The incredible population density, that gave the killer total anonymity. The lodging system we just talked about, it literally forced his victims into his path. And the constant industrial noise from factories and trains, that could easily mask any cries for help. Whitechapel wasn't just a place, it was a perfect killing field.
Okay, so you have this perfect environment, and in that environment, a very distinct, very brutal pattern of violence starts to emerge. Let's dig into what made the Ripper's signature so unique.
Now, the full police file actually has 11 murders in it, but it's these 5, known as the canonical 5, that almost everyone agrees were the work of one person. They all share this horrifyingly specific method, a quick, vicious throat cutting, followed by increasingly severe abdominal mutilations. And look at the timeline. It all happens in this incredibly tight, terrifying window of time. This table really shows you the chilling escalation. With the first victim, Nichols, the wounds were jagged, but by the time he got to Chapman, the uterus was removed with a shocking neatness. With Eddowes, a kidney was taken, and then there's Mary Jane Kelly. She was the only one killed indoors. The killer had hours, and the result can only be described as absolute overkill. He even removed her heart and took it from the scene.
This brutal escalation left the police totally baffled and the public completely terrified. How could one man commit such atrocities and then just melt back into the fog? Which brings us to the investigation itself, the hunt for this phantom. And right at the very heart of that investigation was a fundamental question, one that shaped every single theory and suspect profile. Was this killer some kind of trained medical professional or just a frenzied madman?
You had 2 expert opinions in direct conflict. It's pretty wild. Dr. Phillips, who examined several victims, was convinced that neatly removing organs in near total darkness pointed straight to a surgeon. But Dr. Bond, after seeing the absolute carnage of Mary Kelly's room, saw no scientific skill at all. So this split the theories right down the middle. Were they hunting for a doctor? Or maybe a local slaughterman, whose day job was all about the rapid, messy removal of animal organs?
And while the police were debating, the press was busy creating a celebrity. The name Jack the Ripper, it didn't come from a witness or the police. It came from this letter, the Dear Boss letter, sent to a news agency, just dripping with a taunting, arrogant tone. Most investigators then and now think it was a hoax written by a journalist to sell more papers. But you know what? It worked. The name stuck, and a murderer was transformed into a terrifying global icon.
But you have to remember, the police weren't just fighting a phantom. They were fighting the limitations of their own time. They had zero concept of preserving a crime scene. Bodies were moved, areas were washed down almost right away. Fingerprinting didn't exist yet. Rival police forces actually refused to share information.
And in one absolutely critical moment, a potential clue scrawled on a wall, the Golston Street graffito, was erased by the police commissioner because he was afraid it would spark riot.
So, who were they looking for? I mean, the list of suspects is a mile long, but this table shows a few of the major ones. You've got Aaron Kosminski, a police favorite who died in an asylum. Then there's Charles Lechmere. Now this is fascinating. He was the man who discovered the first victim, but he gave police a fake name. And it turns out his work route took him past 3 of the murder sites at the exact times they happened. Could the killer have been hiding in plain sight the whole time?
And then, just as suddenly as they started, the murders stopped. All it left behind were questions, but the failure to catch Jack the Ripper casts this huge, long shadow, one that actually, fundamentally changed the world.
This right here, this is the crucial point. The complete and utter failure of the Ripper investigation became the catalyst for modern policing. It brutally highlighted the need for crime scene preservation. It pushed the development of forensics forward. And it was really the first time anyone tried to create a psychological profile of an unknown killer, a technique the FBI and police forces all over the world use today.
And his cultural legacy is just as powerful. The Ripper isn't just a historical criminal anymore. He's become a myth, a shadowy celebrity. He's a blank screen that we project all our deepest fears onto. Fears about violence, about being anonymous in a huge city, and about the idea that pure evil can strike from anywhere without a name or a face.
Ultimately, we're probably never going to know his name. The evidence is too old. The trail is just impossibly cold. But the questions his anonymous shadow raises, they are absolutely timeless. In our age of digital anonymity and urban isolation, the idea of a nameless phantom who can thrive in the cracks of society, well, that remains as terrifying today as it ever was. What fears does Jack the Ripper's story still awaken in us?